When did you get here again? You got here in 2 weeks ago, eh?
Yeah, I got here February 29th.
Okay. And just been coaching or?
I've been training because I have Pan Ams next week. So
Really?
yeah, I'm going to be doing some more gi events. I've decided I need a mental break from no gi for a bit.
Why? Is it just?
It's just, I really love jiu-jitsu, but like the sport aspect behind it is slowly like taking away from my love for the sport. You know what I mean? Like people are winning on advantages and like,
I was gonna say.
like ripping their shirts and like, and I'm just like, we're not even doing the thing that we said we're training to do. Like I love jiu-jitsu and I absolutely love teaching. I think I'm a relatively good coach. Like I'm not sure if anybody watched IBJJF, but when Cara was competing, I was in her corner and I was coaching against black belts and they would like turn around, they'd be like,
Really?
and I'm like, yeah, I'm a very like technical instructor. And that time just before she went back up on her match, I was watching the other girls and my friend was like, this is who she's going to compete against. And I was like, okay. So I tell my friend, I'm like, go tell her I want her to do this, this and that. And he's like, this is too much stuff. Just go tell her yourself. And then I was like, okay, cool. Yeah, so I go up to her and I'm like, listen to me. This girl is going to do this. This is how you do this. She's like, okay. And then like, I remember the finals match. I was like, Cara, there's 1 minute left. You decide if you want to be a world champion or not. She like looked over at me and she was like, okay. And I was like, you better work right now. And then she got the decision and she won. And then like, I don't know if you know who Boogeyman is.
Yeah.
From 10th Planet. He was like, and I was
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know that the 10th Planet people, don't you? Because you did a couple of comps and stuff.
I mean,
there, so.
I love Eddie.
Yeah.
Eddie's hilarious.
I know. I've obviously never met him and everything, but I've seen like all of his.
Yeah.
I love his conspiracy theories.
Oh my God, I love Uncle Eddie.
I just like the way that guy's outlook on life is just.
Yeah, he just doesn't care.
Yeah.
My favorite thing is like we go to, because I did Medusa. I did the EBI one first, and he's supposed to like explain the rules to us. So the first Medusa that I did, they had EBI only for 135 pounds, so like 61 kilos. And for the lighter weight division, they had combat jiu-jitsu. And he's like, yeah, we're on an Indian burial ground. These motherfuckers don't give a what we do. He's like, I want you guys to beat the out of each other. These UFC fight pass people want to see blood. And we're like, okay, but what about our rules? This is like Eddie explaining rules to us. And I was like, oh my God. Same thing the last time now in December. He's like, yeah, so this is the back, this is the armbar, this is when it's lost, this is that. And we're like, okay, cool. And then he's like, there's a down rule. So like if you guys are wrestling for a minute and longer, then someone has to sit down. But other than that, these fight bars, guys, and again, he's like, beat the shit out of each other. Like, obviously, they don't tell the commission that they give you bonuses if you knock someone out. If you have anything that goes viral, they don't tell the commission, but they tell the athletes. They're like, $500 for a TKO.
Really?
So go for it. They're like, yeah, go for it. Like, if you want, do damage.
Yeah.
And we were like,
that's the kind of you want to hear though, because you're thinking it anyway. Yeah. I'm sure you're not thinking like, oh, I want to have a good match and I hope you don't get hurt, you know.
Before I went to that event, I told my friend, I was like, I want to break someone's nose. And then my friend was like, okay. And I was like, yeah, I want to break someone's nose.
You almost did it though, I'm pretty sure.
I'm pretty sure I popped that chick's like eardrum.
There's one where they put you on a highlight reel. I think it's the girl in the red or pink t-shirt.
I felt so bad for this girl. Yeah.
Yeah, that match. I
was like, they should have just stopped the match at that point. I was like, and she was talking to me during the fight and I was like, I'm sorry, my dear, but this is a match. Yeah. Like, don't talk to me.
That's the one where you were in a guard. I think you stood up and you were just smacking her.
Yeah, she jumped guard and then I was like, this is the wrong competition. And then I just hit her.
Now I can hit you.
Yeah, I was like, this is the wrong competition to be like jumping guard, especially because there's no strike standing.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, as soon as it hits the ground. But that combat jiu-jitsu, I think like if they want to have an alternative for the UFC, I think combat jiu-jitsu is probably the next big thing.
I think for a lot of like retired UFC fighters or like, you know, MMA fighters that are still looking to make money or whatever, they're trying to like grow it, and for the men's divisions, they're offering like, I think it's $10,000 or $15,000 cash prize. Might even be more. I think like at one stage, the one that Nicky Rod won was $30,000 or something.
Wow. Is that one fight or is that a series of fights?
It's 4 fights.
Okay. So, which is still, I mean,
it's hectic.
That's hectic, but
it's like pancreas.
Yeah. Okay.
Like 4 MMA fights in a night.
Yeah, and it's open and slaps like boss routine.
And the thing is like, you're hitting with bones. Like
Yeah.
the men also though, the guys don't do it properly. If we're being honest, they like slap each other.
They probably slap, yeah.
The women are crazy. I mean, you've seen it.
Yeah, yeah.
My friends were like, you can open palm strike. I was like, okay, cool. Everyone's like doing these little slaps. I was like, no, I'm going to hit straight down. Yeah.
It's the shots you don't hear. It's like a kick. If it has that slap sound, yeah, it
Yeah, then
stings.
it's like, whatever.
But if it has that real thud to it, yeah.
Like if you get the shin into the
Exactly.
rib cage, then you know that's it.
So what made you do the combat jiu-jitsu? Was it just something new, or did you want, I mean, was it the prize money or
So I think...
exposure? What is
So, I mean, I've competed on Eddie Bravo's events before, and I went to Worlds, and Eddie saw me, and he's like, Peyton Letcher, and I was like, Eddie Bravo.
it? You never met him before?
No, we've met,
Oh,
but he
okay.
knows me. And
right,
I went and sat and we were having a conversation, and they just asked me because I had just fought MMA in October. Yeah, October, because it was just before Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
So I fought MMA. I won the women's flyweight, the Flex Fights title.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, so do you want to do this thing? And I was like, yeah. They were like, it's $6,000 to win the
Wow.
event. And then they pay you to show, they pay you, like they'll pay for your medicals and all of that stuff. And I was like, with $6,000, I can pay 6 months of rent. Like, and then I don't have to work that much, which means I can train more and that type of
Focus.
thing. Yeah. So I was like, $6,000, I can pay 6 months of rent. Then I can really just hang out in the gym and be a gym rat.
Yeah.
So that was the idea behind it. And then obviously being on Fight Pass is a big thing. Like getting exposure on Fight Pass is pretty cool, especially because Fight Pass has their own event as well. So I've been trying to get on that too.
What do you plan on, especially if you plan on going on MMA with the MMA route? I mean, is that something you're planning on doing, or?
I think for the time being, I'm going to be focusing more on like AJP, because if you're ranked number 1 in Africa or like at your belt and weight division, specifically if you're ranked in the continent, they fly you to Abu Dhabi to compete.
I heard,
So
yeah.
they put you up in and I've been before, so they put you up in like a 5-star hotel for like a week. They'll really take care of you, and they really take care of the athletes, especially like at the end of the event, they have like a ceremony for everybody. So at brown and black belt, they hand out awards. So AJP is really trying to like grow the sport worldwide. It took them a while to get into the States, but now they're actually in there. So I'm going to be doing some of their events in the States. And then I want to pick up some IBJJF titles. So Pan Am's next week. And then my focus has always been ADCC.
Yeah.
That's always been my goal since the start. The first time I went to ADCC was, like I said, as a white belt. I was probably only training for like 4 months. And I went overseas and I competed against Elvira, who actually competed at Worlds. And she couldn't submit me. And I was like, I could have won the match.
Yeah.
But I was like, if I was already at that level at white belt, like, I don't know why, I would be giving up that easily. So ADCC's always been, I just want to go once, like I just want to be there once at least. And then I have a very good striking coach, like a very good boxing coach. And I also have a very good Muay Thai coach. And their lineage is also very good. And they have like connections in Thailand if I wanted to train there. But I would do that probably after I've done or achieved my goals that I've set in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So first prize is jiu-jitsu.
It's always been jiu-jitsu.
And how did you do any type of grappling before you? Because
I wrestled.
Did you wrestle?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was a national wrestler.
Really?
I wrestled for 9 years in South Africa.
Really?
Yeah.
How do you get involved in wrestling? I mean, okay, South Africa, it's not as hard as jiu-jitsu actually.
I don't
get
know,
involved,
man.
right?
I mean, wrestling, I think it's more open to the public in terms of you don't need to have a gear that costs 2,000 Rand because, like in wrestling, you can go to training in a shorts and a t-shirt and you're fine. The only thing that's really expensive is going on tour.
Okay.
Because they don't really sponsor the athletes that much. Like they'll try to pay for some stuff, but most of the time everything comes out of the athlete's pocket. So I was on the national team for I think 4 years, maybe 5. I can't remember exactly. But like I'm a qualified Western Province wrestling coach.
Really?
I've won SA colors I think 3 times or 4 times. It was so long ago.
What made you want to do wrestling though? Like,
So I'm still a bit of a tomboy.
okay.
I used to play rugby with the boys in the park.
Really?
Yo, I wanted to play rugby so bad, but they wouldn't let girls play rugby at school.
They did at our school. The junior schools I went to, we had 2 girls that played with us actually.
Yeah, they wouldn't at my school. And then our PE coach who used to run the rugby team didn't believe that I did wrestling. I was like, bro, I can show you my Western Province colors. He was like, are you serious? I was like, this guy. So they wouldn't let me do rugby. Then we were playing rugby in the park one day, and I accidentally, I tackled my friend and I broke his arm.
Oh, shit.
Because of the way he fell.
Yeah.
So we broke his arm. He was pulling grass out, losing his mind. I was like, oh, I felt so bad. I went home with him. His parents, we were best friends at the time. His parents were laughing. They're like, oh my God, you broke your arm. I was like, yo, I feel really bad. They're
How
like,
old were you
don't.
then?
I was like 8.
Oh, shame, man. The poor kid, his parents were laughing at a broken arm.
Yeah, no, his parents, the best. They're like, don't worry about it. We'll take him to hospital. Anyway, my other friend used to wrestle at the time, and he was like, oh, you should come try wrestling with us one time. Then he told the wrestling coach about me, this guy, Uncle Michael. Uncle Michael was in the military. So they used to, what's it, AWA? Or,
the wrestling, professional wrestling.
So in the Paro Civic Center,
Yes.
my mom lives on that same block.
Okay.
And so they were having a showcase there that night. And
They still have them, by the way.
Yeah, they still. And so Uncle Michael, he's like, he comes down to the park because my friend told Uncle Michael about me, and he's like, are you the girl that broke the boy's arm? And I was like, yeah. And then he was like, you should come try wrestling out. And then I went, and I was like, this is the best. I was like, I'm never stopping. I was like, this is the best thing ever. I wrestled up until 16. I was meant to go to the Junior Olympics.
Wow.
And there's a lot of unnecessary politics with wrestling in South Africa. The coaches admitted to me afterwards, they're like, yeah, the Western Province is very dominant when it comes to wrestling. So they used to try and do everything they possibly could to try get the Western Province kids kicked out, because the guys who run the national team are in Gauteng and those more upstate, up country. Up north. So whenever we would go to national camps, they would always be in Johannesburg. And those were the coaches that would run it, and those were the coaches that would pick the team.
Yeah.
And obviously if you win, you're automatically put into the team. So I was writing physics, and I missed one national training. And they were like, no, sorry, you missed training. You're off the team. And I was like, okay. And that was it. I was done with wrestling. I stopped wrestling when I was 17. They were like, oh, are you going to come back? I was like, for what?
Yeah.
So
you guys screwed me over.
Yeah, they just took away something. And I was supposed to go to China. I was going to have my birthday in China. I was so excited. They took that away, and I was like, there's no point in wrestling anymore. And when I was 15, my wrestling coach used to teach at Henzo's. So he would take me to Henzo's to help out with the classes and stuff. And then I finished high school, and Kurt calls Hayden, and he's like, where's that girl that used to wrestle? So he gives him his number. Hayden gives me Kurt's number. I phone him. I'm like, hey, what's up? He's like, come in tomorrow. Come try out. I just want to have a chat with you. Kurt's like, I want to teach young women how to do jiu-jitsu, because obviously in South Africa, there's a big issue with rape and violence against women and stuff. And so I go in, he's like, yo, you're going to train now. I had no training clothes. He's like, don't worry about it. We have stuff at the gym. I was like, okay. And at the time I was working as a cashier, because I had to rewrite something so that I could go to university.
Oh, hectic.
Yeah, so I had to rewrite one of my papers. So I took a gap year. I was working as a cashier. And then Kurt's like, oh, come train. I try out a class. I'm obviously in survival mode. I jump on this chick's back, and they're like, you can grab the material. I'm like choking people.
This is great.
Yeah. I was like, oh my God, I can choke you with your own clothes. Okay, cool. And then Kurt's like, yeah, I want you to start on Monday. Immediately offered me a job. I was like, okay, cool. I called. I was like, I quit. I'm out immediately. And then that was August 1st, 2016 is when I started training jiu-jitsu.
What job did you have? As wrestling coach? Or?
No, I used to teach the kids classes, and then
straight away.
Yeah, so I was helping out with the kids classes at the time, and then also just stuff around the gym, help with the cleaning. I would do sales, answer emails, those types of things. And that first week when I started training or working at the gym, that same weekend we had a competition, and that was the first time I ever did jiu-jitsu. So I did intermediate division, and I remember like, Shave, I felt so bad for this lady, but I had a septum piercing and she hit me in the nose.
Oh, no.
I was so angry, and I just like hip tossed this woman so hard and like threw her across the mat. And then I would like go to mount, and I'm like, so what do I do now? Like, I don't know what to do.
You're just holding the position.
Yeah, and then I remember like Desley was standing at the back, and this was before he had LASIK surgery, so he had this like thick black glasses on, and he's like coaching me, and I'm like, I don't know
what that means.
Yeah, and then they're like, okay, you have to stand up again, and I'm like, okay, cool. And then same thing, just hip toss this woman really hard, and then yeah, that was my first gold medal in jiu-jitsu. And then that was it. That was like when it all started.
Damn, straight away,
Yeah.
straight into the fire. And then from there, how long did it take you before you were doing like comps regularly, and
So
like that comp that you did against like black belts you were mentioning?
Yeah, so trials for ADCC, my first trials that I went to was like about 4 or 5 months after I was training jiu-jitsu, started training. And that was in Poland. So the first time I went overseas was to Paris. And then from Paris, we went to Poland. And I remember I cut my hair because one of my training partners kept ripping my hair out. And I had like this small bald patch, and I was like, I'm sick of it. So I cut my hair, go to Paris, go and compete. And I was competing against brown and black. Like the lady I competed against was a brown belt at the time. And she's now a black belt, and she competed at ADCC Worlds. So yeah, that was the first time I competed, and that's when I went pro. Because once you go pro, you can't come back down.
Yeah.
And then I came back to South Africa, and I remember going to Durban, and this woman guillotines me, and I'm like, oh, in pro, you can slam. And I picked this woman up so high. I slammed her, and I was like, this is the best. So yeah.
Did you knock her out, or did she just release the
No,
hold,
she released, and she was like, oh. Yeah, she was like, she was upset. She wouldn't shake my hand after the event. I was like, whatever, it's fine.
So how did you do at the first trials? Did you win a
First
couple of
trials-
matches, or?
No, first trials, I lost first round. And then I went back as a blue belt, and I made it to the finals. And Livia Giles at the time was using her, whenever she competes, when she was competing at the trials, she was using her Polish surname. Okay. So I didn't know who she was. And so...
It's like sneaky, eh?
So we go into the finals, and I'm like, oh, whatever. And we're like playing around, and she catches me with a heel hook. And I was like, whatever. This was like about a year and a bit after I started training. I like just got my blue belt. I got my blue belt within 11 months. And then that next, like, I think it was like about 6 months or so into my blue belt that I got silver medal at trials. And then Lachlan goes and makes a YouTube breakdown of how his wife almost broke my leg. And I was like, no. So there was this highlight reel of me getting heel hooked by Livia Giles. And I was like, oh my God, this is terrible. And then I went back. So COVID happened, went back. The only reason I went to trials was to get out of South Africa. They would only let us get out because of sport. And that was the one that Luke also went to. So I was like, I'm already out of the country. I'm going to Dubai to isolate, and then I'm going to the States. And that was the trials that I won, which had no ticket. Horrible.
Yeah.
Angry. And then I go back, and I lost on a decision in the finals. So I've been in the finals for ADCC trials 3 times already.
Man,
it's been rough.
Did you with the heel hooks and stuff, like how long into your training did you start doing heel hooks?
The first thing I learned, the first session I did was in gi, and then the first no gi session I learned a straight ankle lock.
Okay, so you started straight.
So I started straight away learning leg locks.
And then, but did you not realize the situation when she had you in the heel hook, or? I
think my legs were just too like loose, and then I was like fiddling, and then the next thing I looked, she was jacked.
Yeah.
She like bulked for the event. You should have seen her back. It was insane. And then I looked over, and she had my leg, and I was like, oh.
This doesn't feel good.
And then she went, bah, and I was like, that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she got me good.
That's so crazy, man, that you're like, well, at least he knows who you are now then, Lachlan, or from back then. Did you then go to the US straight after that? Like after you did that comp, or?
So the one that I won, I was isolating in Dubai. Then I went to New York, and I was training in New York for a bit. I stayed in New York because when I got there, I had all my stuff that I had left there before COVID, because I was training in New York in 2019
Okay.
just before COVID started. So I was training. I got there December, trained up until March, got back to South Africa just before the travel ban kicked in.
Yeah.
And then literally the day the travel ban kicked in is the day I got back. And then I went back initially to pick my stuff up. And
Where
then
did you leave your stuff? Or, like,
I left it with, so Kurt was a football, he got a football scholarship when he was like 17, went over to the States.
like football, soccer? Or
Soccer,
football? Okay,
yeah.
alright, yeah. Okay.
Imagine Kurt playing football.
No, I was going to say, like, what position? I don't know. I know
No,
very
I don't
little
know
about
either.
American football,
Yeah.
but okay. No, it is called football. It's not called soccer.
Football.
But yeah, there we go. Yeah.
So Kurt got a soccer scholarship, and he also went and studied engineering, and he had met this family that fostered him. And
New York? Okay.
They actually live in Jersey, and he kept a relationship with them throughout the years, and he would travel back and forth because he owned a record label in South Africa, so he would go to New York. Yeah, man.
What is this guy?
Dude, Kurt did a lot of things.
It's just so crazy. Like football scholarship, engineering, record label now.
Yeah.
Like jiu-jitsu.
Record label, did distribution in South Africa. So he would travel to New York often because of work.
Yeah.
And then he started doing privates with John when he was a white belt. And then his brother, he came back, started teaching his brother. His brother started an academy. Kurt ended up taking over the academy because his brother works in the States and he's now a CA and like hectic job.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Still in New York or?
He's in Houston.
Okay.
Yeah. And
Houston,
so,
Texas.
yeah, man. Everything's big out there.
You have to say Houston, Texas, baby, every single time. There's no other way. Okay, so he's in Houston and then Kurt came back.
Kurt takes over the gym, traveled back and forth to New York all the time to learn from John, would pretty much do privates with John, stay for about a week or so, do the classes, come back with these notes and come and teach us. So that's how that happened. And so I left my stuff with the family that Kurt was fostered by. I go back, I get my stuff. This lady's like, so what are you doing for work? I was like, I haven't like figured it out yet. She's like, do you want to cook for me? And then like, you know, I'll help you out and whatever. And I was like, yeah, I can do that. Like, I'm a relatively good-ish cook. Mm-hmm. And so she let me stay in her apartment for like 8 months, rent-free.
Really? Yeah. So you cook for the family or do they have a restaurant or what?
No. This other lady from the gym, from Henzo's in New York. She's like this really wealthy lady that was actually a professional rugby player. Yeah.
What is it with these people? This is so crazy.
And then she started...
professional rugby player, what, in America or in South Africa?
Yeah, in America. What? And so she was a professional rugby player and she started doing MMA when she was 44. Like the first time I met her, she was 44 and she's like, yeah, I want to fight. And I was like, why?
So she fought, not just trained, she fought.
No, she trained. She does privates.
I mean, sorry, so when you say doing MMA, it's like not just I'm going to go train MMA, like I want to fight.
She does privates every single day with one of the coaches in New York. She does privates with him every day. And I think she's 4-0 now. Crazy. But she's like this, she's like a little tank. It's insane. It's so crazy. That's how I met. Yeah.
Okay.
So I was one of her training partners. She had this crazy apartment in the Lower East Side. It was like 3 floors.
Really?
So you know she's like stupid rich.
Yeah, like a brownstone or...
Like it was a synagogue before. Wow. Like the window, incredible.
Like in the movies when you see the... Oh, wow.
So nice. It was insane. So I stayed there, stayed in New York, and then, yeah, that's it, man.
But was that obvious? Did you, like, how did the whole conversation of you going over to New York start? Did Kurt, like, say, okay, I think it's time for the next step, or did you just say you want to freshen it up, or how did that happen?
No, so Kurt's always encouraged me to go overseas because, and I've said it before, and I obviously understand, like, there's not that many women in South Africa. I understand, but coaches have told me before that for a coach to admit this to me is a little crazy. But coaches have told me before when I enter competitions, they tell their girls to pull out.
No ways.
Which is kind of fucked up.
It is.
Like, for someone to say that to me, I was like, that kind of sucks. Like, why wouldn't you want to go against someone?
What are they afraid of? Are they afraid of losing badly, or are they afraid of getting hurt? Or like, what is...
I would never hurt anyone intentionally. I mean...
Okay. It can happen, obviously, but
let me rephrase that. In training, I'll never intentionally hurt anyone. In competition, I'll give you a chance to tap. If you don't tap, I'm going to break it. Like, I've had situations like that in competitions in the States where I've had heel hooks and I've looked at people and they're like not tapping and I'm just like, it's not my fault. Like, I waited for you to tap. Like, you know you got. Yeah, you know I have you. And shame. This one lady like messaged me and she was like, hey, I just wanted to let you know, like, you tore my ACL. And I was like, I'm very sorry, but we were competing for money and I had to pay rent. And unfortunately, I did give you a chance to tap because I popped it the first time and she didn't want to tap after that. And then I went again and I was like, I'm sorry that, you know, obviously you being whatever day job is now harder, but I did give you a chance to tap. And
honestly, at that point, if it pops, like you can feel the pop and she can feel the pop. So it's on her then after that.
You should know your limits at that point. So the reason is I struggled for a long time to get competition in South Africa. Like in 3 years, I probably had like 5 or 6, maybe at most 10 matches. I go to the States the first time in 2019 for 6 weeks. I competed every weekend. So there's Grappling Industries, which is like a kind of small competition, but it's a good one to like, because they'll do round robin. So you'll compete against everyone in your bracket. And I do 6 weeks of Grappling Industries. I enter gi, no-gi at my weight division, and I enter gi, no-gi absolute. So I had 59 matches in 6 weeks.
Geez, so you had like 6 times more just in such a short period.
Just in 6 weeks. And out of the 59 matches, I probably... my smooth comp record is now changed since then, but back then I had 54 submissions out of 59 matches.
Crazy.
So I was going ham.
Yeah.
I was like, this is the best thing ever. I've never had this many matches before. It was the best. So I competed for 6 weeks straight, and then John told Kurt that maybe I should take a break from competition just so I can start developing like more technique now.
Okay.
And then COVID was like, we're out. And I was like,
Crazy.
damn, that sucks.
All the momentum, like.
Yeah.
So did you then start? Did you get introduced to John Danaher, or like? So you go straight part of his team. He's like you go to Henzo Gracie in New York, and then you're part of the team there, or do you start somewhere else first and then you get introduced to him?
You can go to Henzo's in New York and you can just pay a membership and train.
Okay.
That's how it works. Like John doesn't care. Like you can show up for his class. He's gonna focus on his athletes. That's how it is. And Kurt introduced me to him, but in the 3-4 months that I was training in New York, John said my name twice,
Really?
which is like, for some people, it's like a big thing because John really doesn't pay attention to anyone other than his athletes. And I mean, yes, it's fine. Like, you're going to get good under John for sure. Like, there's no way you wouldn't get good under him. But if you want a coach that's going to be like engaging with you, it's harder to get that out of John. Like, he sees the talent in Luke, and Luke is a big boy. Like, he knows. If we all understand, I mean, Gordon's been having a lot of like health issues, and he's probably not going to be competing that much longer in jiu-jitsu, especially because he's been struggling so much and he's been having to pull out of his matches. Luke is probably going to be like, Luke, Marigali, like those types of people are probably going to be like the next ones coming in, taking Gordon's place, you know? So if he sees potential, he'll focus on you, which is obviously a good thing for Luke. It's amazing.
How big is the class? Like, does he, because I would have thought like he has his team that competes, like all the people you mentioned, and then he would have just focused on them. But is it so are they part of the class, and then you're just like one big group learning the techniques?
So when he was in New York, he would have his team around him, like the guys that compete and stuff, and then the class would be like 60, 70, sometimes 80 people. And the gym in New York is not that big, so like people would have to take like a break, or like you'd be rolling in a very small space. I think, like I've been to I haven't trained at the gym in Austin, but I've seen it. I've been there once. I've walked past it. The only reason I didn't train was because I was sick. The mat space is quite small. And then I'm not sure how big Roca is. But I train with JT Torres in New York, and I train with Ffion Davies. So that's where I'm training now. And then I also train with another coach who used to be part of the whole DDS team in the beginning, Matt Kaplan. He's crazy.
What?
He's just crazy, man. Like, you have to be a certain level of nuts to deal with Matt.
Okay.
Like, he'll tell you, no, it should break here, break there, break there. And then it's like, yeah, I understand. But like, he'll shout at you, he'll be like, you're... And I'm like, I'm not...
Tough love, eh?
Yeah, no, it's rough.
Super tough love. So do you not train at the, so are you still at Henzo Gracie, or do you like switch between the gyms, or? 'Cause
No,
I saw
so
more of your stuff with Ffion now.
I was invited to train with Ffion last year, January, because Ffion, there weren't many women at the time, and the manager of Essentials invited me to come train with her. And then I went and trained, and I was like, because Henzo's in New York is a lot different now. Like, they have a competition class, but they only do gi competition class.
Okay.
And then I went and trained at Essentials, and I was like, this is the competition training that I want. And then I was like, I'm staying here. Yeah.
What what are the biggest differences that you saw from being here compared to there, the gyms there just in general? When you go and hear John Danaher talk for the first time, I'm sure it's
he's very
just
monotone.
a wealth of knowledge.
He's very monotone when you hear John speak for the first time. He also speaks very softly. Is he like you
see on the...
Yes.
Okay, so all of the stuff with Bernardo Faria, where they're please explain this quickly, and it's 20 minutes later, he's still explaining.
In class, he'll show the technique twice, and that's it.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, so if you don't get it, you don't get it. He'll move on.
Damn, no nonsense.
Yeah.
Okay, and then actual the running of the gyms and the way that they teach, and was it very much here? Did you guys?
I would say it's very similar. I feel like South Africa's on track in terms of development of jiu-jitsu.
Okay.
The only thing with the States is that there's more accessibility. In terms of competition, there's a lot more. There's just people everywhere and this is the other thing is that people jump into competition irrespective. It's not oh my God, I'm competing against this person. No, people don't do that. People just jump in. It's almost like a no fear type thing, or it's almost it doesn't matter. I'm just going to go in and learn, that type of mindset. And like I said, when I was doing the grappling industries, I got to do 59 matches in 6 weeks. Whereas it's tough to get that much competition over here, because not enough people enter, and also people, for some reason, I don't know why, they're trying to hog their records. You know what I mean?
It happens at all the levels. It's a little less now. I've seen at ADCC, a lot of the people are competing.
Yeah, they're going in and trying.
Yeah, and Sub Kings as well. I've seen they I don't know, maybe they get paid. I'm not 100% sure, so that might incentivize them.
Yeah.
But it is right. It's right what you say, and you were saying now as well. There was no competition for you in Johannesburg. There was literally no competition.
No one signed up. Yeah.
And one match in Cape Town.
Yeah.
That's so crazy, man. At least you didn't come down just to compete.
No, I didn't come down to compete. I actually came down to go to court.
To court?
I went to court.
Why?
Yeah. So a couple of years ago, one of my friends assaulted me.
Oh.
Yeah. So. The reason I actually came to South Africa was because of that. So I had to go to court on Monday and yesterday.
Oh, really?
Which was very hectic, very, very hectic.
Or as a witness or...
Yeah, so I had to testify. Yeah, man.
Of course, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so the only reason I actually came was because of that. And then Kurt was like, oh, but we're going to be doing these events. Maybe you should come earlier because then you can jump in and compete. And I was like, yeah, what's the point of coming to South Africa for 3 days? It's a long flight, firstly, long-ass flight. And then, so I was like, yeah, I'll come for the event and I'll help out. And then I haven't seen my family in a year. So I had to go see my family. So, yeah.
So then you just by chance did the competitions and there was one match in two...
It's all right.
Into
I'm gonna get my points and go to Abu Dhabi and compete at Worlds. And
if you do any AJP events in the US, does it count towards your African rating?
Definitely.
Okay,
yeah.
Cool. Do they count more points, or are they similar, the same as the
some
big
of the
one here?
points are similar. Obviously the Grand Slam events have more points. The nationals all worldwide have the same amount of points, and so they obviously do range. But in terms of rankings, because it is how would I say, a sanctioned event, they are recognized. So your ranking does qualify in South Africa.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
So if you don't have to travel far to go do the big events, you do, but people in South Africa don't. And we were talking a little bit about it, there aren't a lot of black belts and brown belts in South Africa, are there? And probably even less competing.
So the two female black belts that I know about is Penny Thomas. And I know that a lot of people in South Africa don't actually know who Penny Thomas is, which is wild because she trained with Hickson for a really long time.
Sure.
And she was also on the Gracie Humate team, you know, with Letitia Rivera and like Bia Mosquito and Mackenzie Dunn. That was the team that she used to train with. So the fact that people don't know who Penny Thomas is nuts. And then the other black belt is Annie. I think she's from Somerset West. I feel like she's more in the UK. I'm not exactly sure. But those are the 2 female black belts that I know about. And then there's more female brown belts. But even so, like, Boomy is a doctor. She's got a whole full-time job, you know. Even Jessica Hill, she's also doing like her PhD now. So like she's also very busy. And then people that supposedly say that they're full-time athletes just don't show up.
Yeah.
So
and
good
then
times.
Dorina wasn't even here. I mean, she's not even based here. So that was just
Dorina's
also...
from Germany. She
Yeah.
just happened to come to our gym like about a year and a half ago, almost 2 years ago. And then her friend also trained with us for a long time. And now they're pretty much like part of the family. She comes down often to like come and train with Kurt. So yeah.
When she's here, I guess, yeah. So how do you change that though? Like, how do you get more... I mean, obviously more female athletes need to be involved, and there are a lot. But like, is it still a mindset thing? Do you think that people don't want to do jiu-jitsu, or like?
I mean, why train jiu-jitsu if you don't want to do jiu-jitsu? You know what I mean? Why train it then if you don't want to do it?
Yeah, fair enough. But I mean,
feel like people are making a lot of excuses. Like, just it doesn't matter. It's just jiu-jitsu. That's what people don't understand. You can stop at any point in time. Like, people are like, oh, but what if I lose? Who cares? Who cares if you lost? The most important thing is that you showed up. Most people won't even show up.
Yeah.
Like, to step into a competition with the mindset that, oh, I'm going to fail because I lost, that's not true. You learning on the competition mat is way more than going to the gym every day. You learn a lot more, not only about jiu-jitsu, obviously, but you learn a lot about yourself too. And like having that fear, like I get that people get like anxiety when they compete, but if you feel so uncomfortable during your match, just tell them, I'm done. You can stop at any point in time. It's not like you're locked in a cage.
Yeah,
and you
fair.
have to fight.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
You know?
I think people have a misconception about combat sports. Probably maybe I'm going to blame boxing, you know, where your O is everything.
Yeah, no.
And like if you watch MMA and you like Muay Thai and all of the other sports and now Jiu-Jitsu, like you can lose 5 matches in a year and be a world champion. 10 matches in a year and be a world champion.
It's not a big deal.
It's not a big deal. Yeah.
But people they get to the top and now they think that, you know, like all this pressure, you're putting pressure on yourself, man. Like there was a time when I was competing and I felt like, I was like, oh my God, I have to win because of this and that. And then afterwards I was like, I don't care about anybody else. I'm not putting any expectations on this. Like I'm going in because I enjoy competing and it's not because of anybody else. It's not because of my sponsors. It's not because I'm here to like prove a point to anyone. I enjoy what I'm doing. And then I feel like when people get to that position and then they put all this unnecessary pressure on themselves, that's when like the excuses start to happen. You know, oh no, I hurt my shoulder last week, or oh no, I'm broke, or oh no, I can't do this. But why are you competing in another competition and you can't do this one? But you just said you were broke. Explain that to me.
Yeah. It's easy to make excuses.
It's very easy.
I'm not going to talk. I've been making excuses the whole of this year. So I said to Desley as well, like I'm here saying, yeah, you do it, you know, but I'm making my own excuses. But it is true. I mean, it's something you just have to go do, because if you just sit in the stands. I mean, there was a kid I spoke to now. He's just started jiu-jitsu a while back. Like I still do a couple of open mats and stuff in that side, and asked him how the competition went. He's like, yeah, but I lost and it's this and that and blah blah blah, like all these bad negative things. And I'm like, dude, listen, you did it. You were on the mats. I was sitting in the stands. Like it's a whole lot better than just sitting back and being like, I'm not going to do it because I'm too scared or whatever. Yeah, exactly. Like stepping up is a big thing. Like you should be proud of yourself just for that. Yeah. And people are just like, oh, but you know, and I'm like, can't do. But it happens. I mean, it happens in all of the. Like, of course, it happens with everyone. Yeah. Every sport. So, are you gonna stay? Are you gonna stay in New York now, sort of semi-permanently? Do you think, or? So I have a visa up until 2027. Okay. So we'll see. I'll probably reapply for athlete visa. Get my green card. Maybe get some residency. I do want an American passport because you know. Can travel pretty much freely in the world if you have one. Yeah, which would be nice. But if not, I love South Africa, man. Like people don't understand the quality of life over here. Like everyone's always complaining and I'm like, guys, we have such a good quality of life. Our food is good irrespective of them exporting the best products. I'm just saying. I know.
we're literally right by the beach. I'm by the mountain. Like,
There's so much entertainment.
There's so much you can do over here. And like, people just don't understand how beautiful South Africa is. And to travel within our own country, like, people don't do that enough. Everybody's always trying to go overseas. And I'm like, there's so much to do here. South Africa is a beautiful place. And I feel like a lot of people are just like neglecting the country.
But I think it's good if you can get like, just have that backup in case.
Of course.
You need, my friend I have a friend who stays in Florida. Also a South African guy. He just got his green card, I think after like 8 years or something like that.
Yeah, it takes a long time, man.
It takes a very, very long time. But also like America, it's a big place. Like there's a lot to explore there as well.
America's a big place, but America's not South Africa.
True.
I love South Africa.
Did you like slot in seamlessly at all, or was it like a big change? Because Cape Town's big. Like it's,
no, Cape
but
Town's
it's
not
not New
that
York big. New York is like worldwide big.
Yeah.
Cape Town's like a major city.
Yeah.
But New York is something else. I mean,
everybody thinks Cape Town is big, but Cape Town is actually really small. Like, you can run into the same people very often. New York, massive. It took a long time to like get comfortable in the fact that like people actually wanted to be my friend. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes there's a lot of hidden agendas. And that's only because of like the turnover in New York. There's so many people that come and go all the time that like you're not sure if you're actually making a real friend or not because of the turnover. And then also, is this person actually using me, or are they actually just trying to be nice? So you never actually know, because there's a lot of like influencers and like club promoters and like the whole nightlife thing, and like you're never really sure. Like, and everybody's just trying to flash their money. And it's just like, I don't care about your money. I'm happy for you. Like, I went to Vegas, and I went and watched Zed play. And this guy was like, oh, let me get you a drink. And I was like, sure, whatever. And we go to the bar, and he's like, oh, I don't know why that card's not working. Look how much money I have in my bank account. And I was like, I'm happy for you, bro. And then I walked away. I was like, cool story.
It's such a crazy...
It's so weird.
I've heard as well, like LA I've heard is even worse.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever been to LA or not, but...
Oh, I've been. But the other thing is that a lot of the women like go for that because they're all looking for security. And I'm just like, you're so superficial. There's a lot of like that. So
yeah, the values are different, man. That's another thing that South Africa has that a lot of people don't have, is like values. And it's hard for people to understand, especially there.
Yeah.
Like, they've just grown up like clout is a currency, you know? Forgetting like real currency, like clout is an actual currency.
Which is wild.
Yeah, your family name is a currency, or like the school you like it. You
it's
get
crazy.
it here, but it's not. Yeah, I've never been to America. Like, I really want to go. My uncle stays in Texas, actually. Although he might move, I don't know. But I've been meaning to visit that friend of mine in Florida, because I mean, we grew up watching American TV, and we're like...
But that's the other thing. Like, the first time I went to New York, I was like, oh,
Central
I saw
Park.
this in a movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like, oh my God, I saw this in a movie. Yeah, it was a lot of that.
Whereabouts in New York do you stay?
So I'm in Brooklyn, like East Williamsburg, Bed-Stuy, which is very close to the city, actually. I'm very lucky. Like, I got a very good deal on where I'm living. I also live like in like a Spanish neighborhood, and then the other side is like Hasidic Jews. I wanted to say Jewish people. But yeah, so it's like Hasidic Jews, and then it's like very Spanish. And then there's like a hospital near my house, which is kind of like sus. But it's very convenient, because from there I can get to Grand Central, and then it takes me 30 minutes from Grand Central to get to Essentials. And it's pretty convenient, like in terms of if I want to go into Brooklyn, I can go in and like explore, or if I just want to go into the city.
And then, so obviously, like a lot of public transport and stuff. That's another thing people don't realize when you go. It's so much easier to get around.
Yeah, but like a lot of the other states, you have to have a car.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't want to buy a car.
Yeah, but not for New York, though, surely.
That's the thing. But like, if I had to move to Texas, I would have had to get a car or rent a car in order to get around. Whereas with New York, I just jump on the train and I'm there. It's not a big deal.
Or skateboard around.
I mean, I do skate. I do skate often.
Is that the easiest way, obviously, because you don't want to get
flat.
stuck? Yeah. I still really, really want to go. I mean, it's on my bucket list, like to go to the States.
Yeah.
I need to get around to doing it. We might do. I like more like the coastal, like Mauritius and like Thailand and those places. So
that's also, I like that kind of vibe. I mean, it takes a while to get used to metro cities, but yeah. The other thing is like sometimes you just need to feel the earth, and that's what New York doesn't have. Like going to Central Park, you're like, yeah, you feel the grass, but it just doesn't feel like you're in nature.
Yeah. And it's also like in a lot of parts, probably closer to the city, like you can't see, like it's just buildings around you. Like you can't see past. I would get so claustrophobic, I think, the first time that hits me, because we're used to these big wide open spaces, and then
And the trains that get like packed.
that's the worst.
rough.
I've seen some crazy videos on.
Oh my God.
Is it really like that? Like
It
when they've got the
is.
weird people doing weird in the
Yeah,
trains and
I
like-
mean, you notice them from a distance, though. You're like, oh, this person's about to do some weird.
yeah.
Then you get up and you go to the next cart. People that stay there, I'm like, I don't know why you stay there. Like, you should move. Yeah.
There's a lot of memes that on Instagram about that. But now what is after Pan Ams, you said, what is the next, have you planned out the next, like?
I think I planned out the next 6 months at
Oh, really?
least.
Okay.
Yeah. So like I'm doing Pan Ams, then I'm doing Gi Worlds. I know I'm doing AJP in Dallas. There's also one in Florida that I'm doing. This is all gi competitions, by the way. April 20th, I'm doing Midwest Finishes again, which is streamed on Flow. I won their competition twice before. This will be my third one that I'm
the
going
one
to.
where you had both the belts, eh?
Yeah, the little
Yeah, the spinner.
chain.
Okay. Yeah.
That
I
was
saw
cool. That was
Yeah.
cool. I was
That's
like,
very
oh,
cool.
it spins.
Yeah.
And the owner of the academy where the event is run, that guy is so cool. Like, he's a 10th planet black belt under Eddie. Like, him and Eddie have a pretty like close relationship. He's actually the reason why Eddie invited me to Medusa, because Omar was like, man, Peyton's so good. Like, you should seriously put her on the event. And then so I'll do Midwest Finishes, and then I usually get invited to a couple of stuff where there's cash prizes. Like I just got invited to, I think, Emerald City as well. And then, so a couple more IBJJFs. There's the New York Open, which is like April 5th, 12th, or maybe even after Midwest Finishes. I can't remember. But there's a lot.
Yeah,
there's a lot happening.
yeah.
There's a lot.
Do you like fund it by the prize money, or like is it sponsorships? Like, how do you make money in jiu-jitsu?
So I do, like I said, the cash prize events. Like Midwest Finishes is like $2,000 to win. And then I have like an angel sponsor, which
Okay.
is like amazing.
Yeah.
Because not a lot of people get to like do as many competitions as I do. But I do my best to not use too much of the money that's given to me. So I just do competitions. I try to use that like credit card for just competition, traveling to competition. And then whenever I can, I pay it back.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if I win a certain amount of money, I'll be like, let me send this or whatever.
That's cool.
Yeah, and then like obviously I'm not supposed to work in New York.
Okay.
I'm not supposed to work in the States,
Okay.
but I babysit.
Right.
Yeah, so I work for a very wealthy family.
Okay.
Yeah, and I only work 3 days a week. And so that's how I pay my rent. And if they go away on holiday, they usually take me with them.
That's very cool.
Yeah, so like we went to Costa Rica, which was dope.
Really?
That was amazing. I was like, oh my God.
Oh, is that okay? I saw that. I think
Yeah.
I saw that. Yeah.
We also went to Aspen. I was like, oh my God.
Nice. Did
Yeah.
you get to ski and everything? Or?
I didn't ski because I had to do Medusa and I didn't want
Okay,
to
you
bust
wanna-
my
yeah.
knee. And so they were like, you sure you don't want to ski? I was like, no, I'm sure. I was like, this sucks.
So there's still room to like, for people who want to go professional, there's still a way to go before it's
There
like.
is definitely a way. I mean, you just have to listen. Everybody's like, oh, but like, stop making excuses. There are ways to do it. Like, I help out with ADCC events in the States, which is pretty good. They pay pretty well for the day. I try to like ref other competitions if I can, which is how I also make some money in the sport. But just being involved and like, there are ways and means to do something. It's just, are you willing to do it? Like when I went to the States, I went with 15,000 Rand in my bank account. That's all I had. That was 1 month's
Damn.
rent.
Did you have no idea? You had no idea
I
like
was
where you're gonna
like-
stay, and well, you knew where to stay maybe, but
Barely. I got to New York and I slept on my friend's couch for a week while I was trying to figure out where I was going to stay.
That's so crazy.
And then I moved into the hood. Oh my God, it was nuts.
Which hood was it?
I was like there's this train stop called Broadway Junction, and it's so dangerous.
What is it, like Harlem, the
It's
Bronx?
like, no,
or?
Brownsville. They call it like Killsville.
Yeah. I know, I've heard. Yeah.
Yeah, I was in the hood for like a month, and I was like, this is crazy.
But is it like, I mean, we're from South Africa, so we know danger. Is it?
Yeah, but
you
feel it.
It's a different danger?
Yeah, but you can feel it. Like if they hear me speak and they're like, where are you from? They love the fact that I'm white and from Africa. They're like, oh my God, you're from Africa. I'm like, yeah.
I got the same thing because I lived in the Middle East for 2 years and I got exactly the same thing.
Yeah, they love it. They love the whole African thing. But they're like, yeah, I want to go one day. And I'm like, yeah, everybody should go.
Yeah.
Everyone should visit South Africa or Africa at some point, you know? Not like, I mean, Egypt is more like Middle Eastern, you know? They should like more like Middle Africa, South Africa is usually what I like encourage people to do.
So you said you had 15,000 rand,
yeah, I had
and then you just had to make it work
in my bank account, and then I lived in the hood for like a month.
Did you not? Is that where your friend stayed? Or did you?
No,
was the rent just cheap?
I rented a room. The rent was $1,000. Like I was.
But that's all the money though. Like
yeah, that's it. That was all my money that I spent on my rent for that month. And then the lady that I was cooking for was like, you can move into my apartment. I was like, thank God.
After like a month or?
Yeah.
Okay, damn. Talk about being all in though. Like you literally just went and...
And I don't have any backups, man. Like my family can't afford to pay my rent. Like I went there with pretty much nothing, and I do everything I can to survive. Like I was in New York for 5 months without, again, I don't have a job. I was in New York for 5 months without an actual source of income. And the only way that I managed to pay my rent every month was I would go and compete in competitions, and I'd be like, you're standing between me and another month here.
Yeah.
And I would break people's limbs because I was like, I need the money.
You have to.
Yeah. Like last year I collected like 6 titles because I was like, I need the money. You don't. I remember like competing against, when I just got back, I came to South Africa, went back to New York with $5 in my bank account. That's all I had. And I go and I remember like contacting Rise Invitational. And I was like, hey guys, I'm coming back. Do you need someone to replace? Because they were looking for a replacement. They're like, are you sure you're going to be in the States? Like, you're more than welcome to compete. We just want to make sure that you're going to be here. Because I was meant to compete on their show before, but then I got a chest and ear infection. So I had to pull out on the day. I was like, I'm still willing to compete. On the phone with them, they're like, no.
We can hear you.
They're like, we're good.
Yeah.
Stay away. I was like, okay, I'm going home. Went to bed. And then I was like, hey guys, I'm literally arriving back Wednesday. I'll come through and compete on Saturday. And I do the event, and I remember like smashing this chick's face in the finals. Like, not smashing, but like Sean Williams showed me this crossface where you grab the cheek and you pull the cheek and like drop your shoulder. And she was upset that I was being too rough. And I popped one of her contact lenses out.
Okay.
Anyway, long story short, I win the event. I go up to her, I shake her hand. I'm like, hey, thanks. Like, you don't understand what this meant. She's like, yeah, whatever. So I was like...
Good riddance.
Then she goes up to my coach and she's like, she's so f***ing annoying. And my coach is like, yeah, so why don't you beat her? If she's so annoying...
Do something about it.
Do something about it, literally. And then... she goes in, like, I made a post. I was like, man, people don't understand. I literally came back with $5 in my bank account. I just won this money. I just earned another month in New York. Like, people don't understand how hard this was for me. And then she messages me with, like, the most salty message ever. She's like, yeah, you know, this money wouldn't have meant anything to me, but I can tell that it really meant something to you. And I was like, no worries.
It's like a backhanded compliment.
I was like, there was no need for you to even say this. And then that next month, I competed again in a competition, which was like $1,000 to win. Went there. That's when I unfortunately broke this woman's knee. Then the month after that, I did another competition where I think it was actually Midwest Finishes. That was the first one I won. I paid 2 months rent that time. Went back and did another event. And that was how I was like paying my rent. I was like, you're between me and the month of being here. And that's the thing. Like, I've been in New York now for almost 3 years.
Yeah.
And I have no one to, like, pay my rent. And, like, yes, I have a sponsor, but the fact that I already use so much money traveling in the States because flights are expensive. I feel so bad. I'm like, oh my God, I'm spending like $300 on a flight. It feels pretty bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then like I try to do my best just to like compete as much as I can and then like figure out how I'm going to like survive.
It's crazy though that you've been there for 3 years and it's like
surviving. Yeah.
Damn.
Literally month to month.
That's so crazy. And like food and stuff like that, is that?
I cook for myself. So like I'll spend like $100 a week on food
Okay.
and then I'll cook for the week. And I also eat a lot of organ meat, which is like very cheap in the States because not a lot of people eat it. So I go.
Yeah, they have it as like an offcut. Okay.
Yeah, so I go to like a butcher shop and like I'll get a pack of like chicken hearts for like 80 cents. So it's like.
How long does that last you?
I'll make like 3 meals with it.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I always, so like I don't have breakfast. I intermittent fast. And then my first meal is always a protein shake. So like I'll have a protein shake for lunch and then I'll have a big-ish dinner and then I intermittent fast until like 2 p.m.
Okay.
So
cool.
it's also a way to save money.
Damn, yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Did you start eating the organs because you just, that was like for health benefits, or was that also just to like save on costs, or?
I mean, obviously it's a lot cheaper to do it that way, but the reason we do organ meat, like Kurt actually taught me how to cook. And then obviously there was this whole thing about the Liver King, but even before the Liver King, we used to eat organ meat already. But then Liver King made it like very popular.
Yeah, he took a mainstream.
Regardless of the fact that he was on so many steroids. I mean, he took it more mainstream, but we were doing that before all of that. And now everybody's like jumping on the hype of organ meat. And it's like.
Yeah, but it happens like that.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't trust you.
Yeah.
All of a sudden now you're like, oh, I eat liver. Okay.
Yeah, do you really eat it, or do you show it for that video and then you chuck it out? Yeah.
Yeah, so we were doing that a while before. And then when I went to the States, like the butcher shop that I go to gets meat from like literally upstate New York, and it's all like grass-fed. So it's like, it's a really good butcher shop. The only reason I went there was because one of the guys that I trained with, he was cooking marrow bones. And I was like, oh, can I have some of that? And he was like, yeah. He was like, what would you like? And I was like, I would like a femur split in half because like whatever. And then he was like, is there anything else you'd like? And I was like, if you have liver and if you have tongue. And then he brought me like a package. And I was like, sick. And then I was like, I'll come to the butcher shop. And then I went in and I pretty much only get like organ meat from them. And then like I'll buy some other meat, but it's very rare that like I'll buy a whole chicken and I'll eat off the chicken for a week. Because I'll make stock, I'll make soup, I'll make like a curry, whatever. So I usually cook for myself for the whole week, and then Sunday.
So you actually still eat like real meat, like you eat
real
other
food
meats and stuff.
Real food, yeah.
Okay, so it's not just like the organs.
Not just the organs.
Okay. And carbs and stuff like that, do you?
Oh, I eat carbs.
Are you big at, is it? Okay.
Yeah, for sure. People think that like in order to lose weight, you need to like completely cut carbs out of your diet. And it's like, no, carbs is your first source of energy. That's the first thing that's going to burn. Like obviously you don't need to eat excessive amounts of everything. It's all about portion sizing. And then if you don't eat carbs, if I don't eat carbs, I feel like absolute in training. And it takes me a long time to adjust to not having carbs. Like going over to like a keto style of diet takes me really long to adjust. So I usually have carbs in the afternoon, and then at night like I'll have meat and salad, or like I'll have the soup or whatever that I made. So limited amount of carbs, but I still eat carbs.
And the right kinds, because it's not, I mean, I can imagine America. I said to my wife, like if we ever move to America, I'll get so fat because like I'll be going to Five Guys, I'll be going to In-N-Out, I'll be going to like Fuddruckers, everything. Like when we go to like overseas, the first thing I do is I go get Ben and Jerry's. It's the first thing I go do.
Ben and Jerry's
is
like 1,500 calories.
I know.
It's insane. It's like 150 grams of sugar.
Worth it.
It's terrible. But there's this other brand called Halo Top, and it's like 300 calories.
Does it taste as
19 grams of sugar. It doesn't, it's like some of the flavors you're like, nah. But some of them are actually really good. Like the plain chocolate one is delicious. I was like, and the whole tub is 300 calories. I'm down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a much better one than the 1,500. But
yeah,
you know what? It's worth it.
Ben and Jerry's is so good though.
Man.
So good. And the chips of chocolate and the caramel and everything they have in it. It's insane.
My wife loves ice cream, but I think I scarred her for life with that though. Because we were in Mauritius of all places when she had
Ben and Jerry's. And they have Ben and Jerry's?
Yeah, the first time. time. Like,
how do they have Ben and Jerry's in Mauritius and not in South Africa?
I know. I was like, is it a French connection or what is it, you know? And then now when we went to France now, it's like first thing we did when we hit the shop. Like we were in the middle of the countryside.
Yeah.
Where my dad stays, and we're like, is there Ben and Jerry's? We go look, because like 6 different flavors. Like,
all of them, bring them.
Have to try it. Fast food though.
Oh my God. So there was this time when I was like sick for like maybe 2 months. And I go to the hospital and I'm like, guys, figure out what's wrong with me. They do all of these tests. They're like, there's nothing wrong with you. Maybe it's psychosomatic. I'm like, listen here, I am not crazy.
Yeah.
That day they were like, no, you know, and I was losing so much weight. I was walking around at like 60 kilograms. And I was like, I don't like the way I look. Like, I'm a relatively like muscular girl. And like at the time I was so skinny and I was not feeling well. And I was like, something's wrong, man. And then they're like, no, nothing's wrong with you. I go to Five Guys, get like 3 burgers. And I was like, all doubles. I had like 3 like burgers of Five Guys. I was like sitting in the gym, like eating it. Felt way better.
Yeah, of course.
Went to like Medusa the next week. Lost in the finals. That was the EBI one. But I was like, oh my God, compared to like how I felt last week, and now I feel way better.
So Five Guys fixed it.
Five Guys
sponsorship, guys.
Let's go.
Sponsor both of us. I also want some Five Guys. Like,
I'll eat Five Guys all day. But
damn.
the problem with the States is like how much sodium is in everything. Like when I'm in South Africa, I could eat fast food and I won't pick up as much weight. I go to the States and I'll eat like at a relatively decent restaurant and I pick up so much weight so quickly.
Yeah.
It's insane. Which is also one of the reasons I cook at home. But also sometimes you go to a restaurant and like you have the food and you're just like, I can't believe I paid like $60 for this when I could have just
in rands in your mind as well.
And I'm like, I could have just made this way better at home, which I know I can. And I'm just like, it's such a waste.
I know. We had to stop doing that because when my wife and I we went to France and we went to Rome. And like she just wanted to eat pizza in Rome because like pizza and pasta. And like we just go into places and I'm like, so many rands. I'm like, no,
you have to stop converting.
I have to stop. But America's also weird because like what I've seen, obviously I've never been there before, but I've seen like they have to specify when it's whole, like they've got a shop called Whole Foods. Like here, you don't even have to really specify.
Whole Foods is overpriced. I'm very sorry. Whole Foods is crazy overpriced.
But they've got to specify like it's real.
They're like, everything is organic. I'm like, yeah, sure, if you say so.
Yeah.
You get like little organic markets, which are way cheaper than Whole Foods. And then Whole Foods also says that their meat is like really good. But the butcher shop that I go to, they're like, nah, one of my friends works there and he's like, the meat's not good. So I won't buy. I mean, don't obviously show this to Whole Foods. But I won't buy.
Because like they would be watching this right now.
Yeah.
You know?
I don't want to get like a lawsuit but I don't buy any meat at Whole Foods. Every now and then though, like I'll go and buy like the veg, but they're crazy expensive for no reason.
Yeah. Oh look, it's America's big on marketing. Like we've seen, so for my job and stuff, like we try to penetrate like a lot of the markets, overseas markets. And I've seen like with the US in particular, like they don't care about pricing. It's all about the message that you're sending. And it's like, do we want this? Yes, then we're willing to pay. And I think it's the same thing with...
That's what they do.
With Whole Foods, with everything. I mean, look at Prime.
It's very easy to like con someone into like getting something.
Yeah.
I feel like they do a lot of guerrilla marketing as well though. Like I have a friend who's actually like best friends with Henzo. My friend Andrew, oh my God. If you want to sell something, you just guerrilla market him.
Really?
And he'll buy it.
Is it easy?
Anything. Like anything. Anything online, if you just happen to like find him. If you find him, he'll buy it. He'll be like, oh, this is actually really good because so-and-so said. And I'm just like, you just bought that because they sent you an ad.
He's the opposite of the people making excuses.
Yeah.
He's making excuses to buy the thing.
Yeah.
Oh, man. So you said you're flying back Saturday?
Sunday.
Okay. Cool. Well, I mean, thanks for coming through. We really appreciate it. And we're going to look forward to seeing... I've been following a lot of your comps and stuff like that. I'm looking forward to seeing where it goes to. And
yeah, man.
Hopefully you get to make it to the big show this year.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it's just a matter of time. Like, I mean, the people you're training with, it's just...
The other thing is, like, changing gyms obviously, like, messes up your flow. You know what I'm saying? Like, for what Henzo's was, like, it was a great place to train and whatever, but it wasn't competitive enough for me. And then changing from that, like ever since I left Henzo's, that was when I like started winning these like events. But I would say it's also because of like the whole survival mode that I had to, in order to survive. You know, I had to win these events. But then, like, I just feel so much better. JT's so cool, man. Like, so positive. Ffion is a really good training partner to have, obviously. Like, on Tuesdays, it's open door policy. People come in, train for free on Tuesdays. So we have like these massive classes and we just get to like go nuts. And there's always music playing and everyone's always dancing. So we have good time.
Just an all-round bit of vibe.
Yeah, it's just like the vibes.
Yeah, you have to get your head right, I think, first before you can, before
it's
the
very
rest follows.
important. Yeah. So like sometimes I take a break from like training in Brooklyn because I don't want to be told I'm all the time. Like, I know I'm not that good at jiu-jitsu, but like being told constantly makes you like think that, oh, maybe just maybe I am.
Yeah.
And like if that starts to creep in, that's what messes with the competition flow. Like, I think believing in yourself is probably like the first step to anything, obviously.
Well, there's that saying about like, show me your friend group with 5 smokers and you'll be the 6th one.
Yeah.
Or like whatever the other one, the opposite. But
like,
show me the friend group with 5,
whoever you
5
surround
smokers,
yourself,
you're the 6th one.
Yeah, whoever you surround yourself with is very important.
I always
like,
forget the positive part of it. So
yeah, man, like,
I just don't want it to be, so I always just remember the negative part because you'll end up being in that, you know.
My thing is that I love going out. Like, if I'm in a group of people that were like, yeah, let's go dancing, I'm like, let's go dancing. You know, like, if that's my friend circle, so I try my best to like surround myself with people that are focused and like, they're like, no, there's no need to do this because we have training tomorrow. So like, that's like the friend circle that I've been more looking for, you know, like before Nogi Worlds, I think it was maybe 2 months before Nogi Worlds, we went salsa dancing. And then Ffion was like, yeah, this is the last time we're going out before Nogi Worlds. And I was like, yeah,
okay, this
is the last time we're going out before Nogi Worlds because we have to do something now, you know? So that's usually, or like that's like the friend circle that I'm looking for. And then I obviously have like older friends that are like successful and like they'll tell you, oh, but you're still so young. And I'm like, yeah, but still, like it's time. Like, this is the time, you know? Like, I don't have anything else. I chose jiu-jitsu over everything. Like, I definitely will come back one day and I will open up my own gym and I'm going to teach and I will probably help run events and those types of things. But for now, I'm choosing to be a competitor. And this is all I chose. My mother's like, you should go study. I'm like, I'm kind of getting a PhD in jiu-jitsu over here. You don't understand. Yeah. And she's like, yeah, but what if? I'm like, there's no what ifs. There's no just second, right now. Yeah. This is what I chose.
All in.
Yeah.
That's the best. Listen, I mean, I've had this discussion. I had it with Jason Durant the other day as well. I had it with fighters as well. It's like, you find what you like. Yeah. You know, and like some people are fortunate enough to find that at a young age. Yeah. Like for me, I found it now with this like 2 years ago. Okay. So I'm still relatively young, but I mean, obviously if I was in my 20s, it would have been much better. But the sooner you can find it, you go all in on it. Man. And the thing is, right, like you can study, it takes you 3 years or 4 years. Yeah. Okay, there's no guarantee that when you come out, you're going to get a job in that field. Exactly. You got to build yourself up for 10 or 12 years anyway. And then by the time you're there, you're chasing someone else's dream. Yeah. So why not just chase your own dream, put in that same amount of effort. And it's going to take you years. Like this will take years. It's taken you years of hard grafting. I mean the thing is, exactly. I've been working for, okay, I'm not going to go down that road, but people work for 15, 20 years and they still eat at their job. And people are always surprised at the fact, like, I know so many people that have less freedom than me. They're like, oh, so what do you do? I'm like, I do jiu-jitsu whenever I want. They're like, man, I wish. Yeah. And I'm like, they're like, so what do you do on the weekends? I travel to compete in jiu-jitsu. I know so many successful people that have so much money and that have worked their whole life and I have more freedom than them, which I think is a big privilege. Like people, like, yeah, it's great to have all of this, you know, material things around you that give you comfort and things like that. But I think the biggest privilege is having freedom. Yeah, 100%. Freedom to do whatever the you want on your terms and nobody's going to tell you what to do. You want when you want. Exactly. The unfortunate thing is like money is, so freedom is the goal, money is the tool. Of course. Unfortunately. But hey, I'm broke as
But hey, look at me.
I know. Like, listen, when we were
I'm doing the thing to do it, you know?
I see. I mean, when we look like I'm working now and all that kind of stuff, and like in a corporate setting or whatever. But like I look back to my university days. I was broke as hell, but those are some of the funnest days I ever had.
Telling you.
No worries, and like it is so true. More money, more problems. You know,
Legit.
I'm not like
because now you're getting a mortgage, you're getting a car.
Exactly.
Like
yeah.
I have nothing. I have a TV, a queen size bed, and clothes. That's all I have.
There we go.
And I'm like.
And see, to you as well, like the currency for you is like titles and do actually, like you say, doing what you want to do, doing it on your own terms. I mean, that's the thing. Like I've seen now a lot with jiu-jitsu, like people in the jiu-jitsu world. I had this discussion with another guy that runs a gym out in the northern suburbs as well, and he was like, "Man, he's not the richest dude, but everything's covered."
Yeah.
He's living a decent life, but he gets to do what he wants
whenever he wants.
Exactly. He answers to nobody. Yeah. I mean, his students, whatever, but like,
I mean, I'm the best roommate ever. I'm never home. Like, I'm always doing something.
That is the best, yeah.
Yeah,
that is the
my
best
roommate's like, oh, you just paid your rent. I'm like, God damn it, I just paid rent and I wasn't home for 2 weeks. And before that, I was in Croatia for a week. And like, I'm like, God damn it.
Still splitting water, still splitting electricity.
Even so, yeah, all of it. But I'm like, I'm still seeing the world.
That's, yeah. And after this, you'll have a lot of memories where a lot of people have memory of staring at a computer screen and all that.
Which kind of sucks, man.
Which does, yeah.
I've always said that I'm never going to work in an office one day. Like when my mom, she was like, oh, what do you want to study or whatever? And I was like, you know, I kind of want to just be outside. Like I don't want to be in a corporate setting. I don't want to be in an office. I get bored. I'm not going to sit behind a computer and do stuff. There's no way. And I was like, I just want to move. And then when I started training jiu-jitsu, I was like, man, this is kind of cool. Like, this is, like, I wrestled for so long. And then I thought that at the end of wrestling, that was it. And then I was like, oh, there's actually more. And then I did MMA and I was like, oh, I'm learning another skill. Yeah. And I was like, this is very cool. Like, MMA was, I only did MMA because one of the reasons initially was in South Africa, MMA was the first thing that came back. So I was like, I'll jump in, I'm bored, there's no competition. And then I remember the other reason is I want to create champions. One day I'm going to create world champions. And I believe that if you've never been in that situation, it's very hard to coach someone through it. So I'm like 4-0 in MMA. Amateur, obviously. But even so, I can't wait to go pro. I want to just throw some elbows. So I think that in order to like give a well-rounded perspective or in order to like coach better, you must at least do it once. Yeah. It's the same thing about like competition. Like everybody's so scared to compete. I think that every single person should compete just once. Yeah. Because that's where you find out who you really are. Someone's actually trying to kill you. That's when you find out. Are you going to freeze? Are you going to run? What are you doing? Yeah. Are you going to fight? Are you going to fight through all of it? That's at least once in your jiu-jitsu career. Yeah, you get to learn a lot about yourself, you know, and then you got stuff to work on if you need to work on it. Well, there's always stuff to work on, but like Don Madge said, like nobody gets worse competing. Exactly. That's no one gets worse. Yeah. Man, I keep saying... if you do get worse...
maybe it's time to change
ask your coach something.
Yeah, it's time to change gyms. Yeah, I need to stop doing all this motivational talking about competing and actually just get back in there.
Just do it.
Just got to do it. So, but yeah, thanks a lot again for pulling through, and I'm glad we got to make it happen. And before you go, and all the best for your Pan Ams next weekend, and safe travels. I know it's a long flight. A lot of people
sleeping pills.
Okay.